Mona's not answering his phone, by the way. So he may have fallen asleep.
It was a week.
Wait, who
like not too long
Wait,
ago.
Michael,
was it?
He informed us
He's
he
not
will
gonna
not
be
be.
here.
Oh, yeah, he's not gonna be
here.
here.
Oh.
You know who might be able to make it here?
Who?
Ursula.
Oh, we should
Yeah.
we should actually not have her here because we got to
shit,
talk about
actually,
her.
wait, yeah, maybe not
Oh.
this time. Wait, yeah.
Yeah, we got to talk about her.
What happened?
And that is the first thing to talk about if we're ready.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all here. I
Okay,
guess.
so I am pleased to announce that the election for Civilian Oversight Board has concluded.
Mhm.
I know we talked about how we're going to take the top 8 and then select 4. I'll read out the top 8 and let's see what you guys think.
Mhm.
Okay, so in order, from highest votes to least votes out of the top 8, we got Archie Archer, no surprise, with 140. That guy's literally addicted to the Civilian Oversight Board.
Mhm.
Sonny Brooks, 129. Ursula Leichenberg, 114. Owen Svensson, 83. Silas Moreno, 79. TJ Walker, 78. First Temple, 73. Jalapeno, 65. And then it roughly just trails off from there. So thoughts?
I spoke with Silas Moreno today. It's the first time I've ever met him. I kind of just threw a bunch of random questions at him to see if he was prepared for it and actually understood the position. Honestly, I was happy with all of his answers. The vibes I got from him was he wouldn't be too bad. I don't know him on a personal level at all, but he at least made it through that conversation. I also just personally know Hal and think he would be pretty good for this kind of thing, and I think we'd be insane not to get Svensson.
And that's
Well, as a general question, yeah. So, is there anyone of that list of 8 people that people think absolutely should not be on it, and why?
Okay, so as much as I really like Sunny, I think she is a wonderful person. Siobhan can attest to it. We sat at the Shift 3 PD meeting and listened to her talk to PD, and she had literally no idea what the Civilian Oversight Board was going
That's
to
what
be
I've
doing.
heard as well.
She was, talking about basically having to do with businesses, which I think she might have had it confused with the Chamber of Commerce idea that had been discussed previously. And then she was also trying to answer questions that should have been directed to myself and Siobhan as council members and not Civilian Oversight Board. They were asking her about qualified immunity. They were asking her about helicopters.
Let's dive into that for a second. I mean, we haven't, there's not a extremely in-depth, line by line definition of exact actions about how this thing will take. Most of it is just getting these civilians who are clean and not government employees, and having Malton kind of, take them under his wing and, create this board. And I guess my question is knowing that we are going to publish the voting results in full, I would question this the following way. Is there anything in the top 8 that makes us want to supersede the voting will of the public?
Not for me.
To what Etta was saying, I think Sony, she didn't understand the position, but I do think she has the right mindset. Like she has a good learning mentality, like a growth mindset. Archie also seemed to misunderstand the position, and more than that, his Lord of the Rings character is Gollum. I feel like he's kind of greedy for power, and he keeps trying to call out these other names. I'm not a big fan of his.
Yeah, I also agree with Siobhan on that note, because I've waffled on my opinion, because he genuinely has shown the persistence and determination, for it, as we have all noticed, but he's also willfully ignored our suggestions, myself included. I spoke to him in the very beginning of his campaign and told him that continuing to call it the Civilian Oversight Council would be confusing for a lot of people. and then it proved to be correct because people still were under the impression that he would somehow be making council decisions. And he even came to me, earlier yesterday, and just to clarify, what specifically, they would be doing. So it just, I don't know, somebody who just willfully chooses to do things the way that they want to do and not as it should be, it just shows an unwillingness to compromise or see things from another perspective.
Sidebar, and by sidebar I mean everyone stay seated. Malton, can you please explain the purpose of the Civilian Oversight Board?
My understanding, as has been explained to me, is whereas the mayor's office is the proactive oversight of the PD, the Civilian Oversight Board is meant to be the reactive side of that. The easiest way I could explain it in a TLDR, as oxymoronish as this sounds, is external IA. So my idea was for the city councilors, right, would get a complaint from the civilians about something that was happening in the PD. I would see if there was any validity to said complaint. It's got to be more than just cop's bad, right? It has to be like a specific incident. If there was, I work with Crane and possibly PD high command to procure like the necessary documents, officers involved, et cetera, et cetera. 5 people would then meet and interview, look at the documents, give a recommendation to PD. But I think there is a little bit of wiggle room in there for when the Civilian Oversight Board is empowered to act. Obviously, there's the police continuity plan, that kind of has some stuff wrapped in there that wouldn't necessarily make it purely reactive. I also think that, let's just say something hits Weasel News of, cops mowing down a school bus of children, right? That might be something that the Civilian Oversight Board could look into as a complaint without anyone specifically telling them about it. My whole concern about all this, it's similar to concerns that other people have raised, is I don't think people truly know what this is. I think that is on the fault of myself and Crane, despite us trying to explain it multiple times. It wasn't specifically posted anywhere, what these would entail. And I think these top 8 need to be essentially sat down and say, hey, this is what the position is, and it's not as glamorous and it's not as powerful as you think it is. You're not an overlord of the PD. You're not the mayor's office. You're not even going in. You may not even be entitled to go to those meetings still, depending on how this works out. It's a reactive board. We get a complaint, we investigate it, and we action it. You're not out there being a vigilante for on behalf of the civilian population.
I'll add on to what Moan's saying and just say that the reason why I created it like this was because the whole intent was that IA has never really worked. It's been tried, Malta knows as well as I do. It's been tried a number of times. It's never really functioned. And the reason is because as long as IA is under the umbrella of the police department, there's nothing really they can do, because even if things are resolved, and even if things are resolved to a way where the public would be happy, it was never really public. And the reason is that obviously, PD doesn't want to air its dirty laundry, and that's just natural. But if you have a public-facing Civilian Oversight Board, then the whole intent is to air the dirty laundry and allow the public to feel like they have representatives who are looking into these things on their behalf. So I wasn't really, and maybe, this was the wrong approach, but personally, I didn't really want people, I guess, focused exactly on the thing. I just wanted clean civilians who weren't really government job, who wanted to serve and help, because we can teach them what they're doing and we can instruct them on how to do it. That's Mullen's job. But I don't necessarily want people who are out there who hate PD. I want just genuine civilians who have an open mind.
That's how I felt too. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't, and I guess this is just my natural instinct. I don't have an inherent bias against anyone in the top 4 that would make me say they can't be on the board. So my thought was, well, instead of like superseding the will of the people, why don't we interview the top 4, explain to them exactly the constraints, and if
See
it
if they
seems
still
like
want
they
to
can
do
follow
it.
through and they still want to do it, then we, give it a go. Because I'm personally, I don't want to be seen as, meddling so much.
I get that.
Yeah, I agree with not overriding the popular vote. I think that's a terrible idea. 1, 2, they've been waiting for this for months at this point, so I think we shouldn't hold off on picking the top 4.
Yeah, Malton can train him. I trust Malton.
Yeah, so we
Yeah,
put the state
Malton got this.
we can put a state announcement out now that says, "Hey, these are your top 4 voted people." And then maybe set up a time for them to be debriefed, essentially, because I just got debriefed in like 5 minutes by Malton, so I'm sure they can handle that
Yeah,
shit too.
we can explain it very quickly and very easily.
That's why
And
I
hey,
spoke
if
to
they're
Archie
if they're
last night.
disappointed, then guess what? That they weren't fit for it anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, we have our 4 alternates basically. If anyone in the top
All right,
4
I'm gonna
doesn't
put out an
want it,
announcement.
yeah, just put out
Also
the
true.
announcement.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we could totally just draw from the other 4 people.
Yeah,
that,
fuck it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
That's fine.
The only thing I'll add, and I'm not sure if this needs to be put in like the legislature, or if we want to discuss among ourselves, but if we like sit down people, or me, it sounds like, and say like, hey, you're not meant to be tied to PD at the hip. This isn't part of the council. If they're still doing it after these expectations are made clear, whether it's on my authority or something that comes to this board here, that they're getting kicked off that fucking board. Like I just don't want people abusing the goodwill of the first run of this board to attempt to do something different than IA.
Yeah, and just unravel anybody's confidence in their ability to. Yeah, I get that.
Malton, I'm gonna say in the state announcement for them to contact you for onboarding. Throw that number in the yellow pages, big guy.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll wait till after this meeting, but yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess with that being said, that would make Ursula a member of the board. I don't see a conflict with her still recording. Like I said, the board is kind of like an additive duty. So
I don't either. I didn't want her here for the discussion.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
I think she's awake anyway, for what it's worth.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's one thing down.
What I guess like the last thing on this is once our meeting concludes, Crane, I'll probably just have you put out another announcement and ask them to meet in like the third floor courtroom or something if there's no trial
Sounds
going
good.
on. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess some of them you're probably gonna have to email.
Yeah, I mean that's
figure out
fair.
some time.
I mean, we can work out the logistics and all that. It's not a big deal.
Owen's probably out hunting or something.
Okay, so I guess I've already discussed it with everybody, but Alan, yesterday I witnessed one of our co-wardens overstepping. Bobby Charles was at a bench trial yesterday on duty, although he was not a witness for the bench trial. He used his privilege to bypass the metal detectors and then pulled a knife on somebody beyond the metal detectors and threatened their life with it.
Who'd he threaten?
Ember Quinn.
Who's that?
She's a clown. She's quite often
she's a fucking social degenerate who got charged with adoption fraud.
Well, Grace did eventually.
She also has the longest rap sheet I've ever seen. So
yeah, she gets in trouble quite often. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that
hold on, gets in trouble is one thing. We're talking about attempted second-degree murder, felony possession of drugs, kidnapping government employee, 9 times assault and battery, reckless evading 6 times.
I know. She's horrible.
So listen, I'm gonna have to ask Bobby for context on that one.
Well, I mean, he was arrested by Slacks, and he was charged with brandishing of a non-firearm because she was on the other side of the metal detectors, so she had no weapon, and he pulled a knife on her and started threatening her for unprovoked at the time. And then she started that's when she started tackling or
She used to have
attempting to
58
tackle and
points on her record.
then ran from the police. So but I mean, why was he in the courtroom on duty? First of all, if he wasn't a witness, you know, shouldn't he have been at Bolingbrook? Is kind of my thing. And I've
Well,
heard that
they're not
Eve, give
chained
her a
there,
hunting
but we'll talk
license.
okay.
I mean,
So that's what you
and
know, Carmine has been actually taking this seriously and putting like effort into it, and I don't want to see Bobby Charles undo that.
Mhm.
So
There was also an EMS brought to me today. I
No,
can
they
handle
did
most of this,
fall
but just
off.
for full transparency, it was talking about everything. Happy called me about they believe that instead of actually utilizing the local doctors they have up at the prison, they might be dragging injured people out to the parking lot
Yeah,
and having
that shit
EMS come
pisses
and
me off.
respond.
That shit makes
Yeah,
me
I
fucking
heard
mad.
some.
Yeah.
I heard some comments, but there.
mhm.
So
Not
we need to
ideal.
talk to Bobby and
Yeah.
Carmine.
But that might just be they don't understand how to handle it up there, so I'd gladly help if they just want to talk about it.
Well, the question is, are the local doctors working up there?
So it's local EMS that would transport them into the infirmary and then back to their cells, from my understanding.
And that's only if they're a prisoner, right?
Yes,
Right.
if they are not if they're not signed in as someone who should be within the prison, the local EMS will transport.
Does that
them
work
out
for
to our
DOC?
Actually, I don't know on that one.
D-
Maybe not.
DOC would probably go to the hospital.
Yeah, they probably. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's something for us to look into. We can summon them here and chew them out. It doesn't look
Yeah,
like
we'll
they're
figure
around
that
right
out.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I was there, so I witnessed the whole thing. Which is the only reason I brought it up, because I don't want that to become like a thing that continues to happen. Because he was also saying some really vile things as well, and I
Well,
just
tell
wasn't
EMS
happy.
not to respond then if they're gonna be dickheads. I mean,
Yeah, honestly, we've even talked about just saying like, unless they're all the way out to the freeway or something, just leave them or something. Yeah, we'll just let them do whatever they have to do with it.
Didn't you say that Bobby also was threatening?
Yes, they've
Or
been getting threats from them that they'd kill
God.
EMS and PD.
Bobby was threatening to kill EMS, and
Apparently, yeah.
Look, as someone who had to go to court because I was threatened by Bobby Charles, he's mostly harmless. Just don't get caught in
Oh,
the
I
prison.
agree. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, they don't love that they're being dragged up there for so many patients now and threatened whenever they're there. So, but fuck it, yeah. If they stop responding, that's on Bobby. So
mhm.
fuck it.
Also, a couple of clarifying questions to the adoption policy was brought to me, and I
Yep.
talked to Siobhan about this
Oh
last
yeah,
night.
yeah.
So siblings, would they need to file for, or can they file for adoption?
My understanding was it
Because
was any family, right? If it's
I
not
thought
blood
so
family, you gotta pay
too.
for it.
I thought so too, but we added that amendment that confused me.
Let me see.
because it was brought to my attention that there are people who do consider themselves siblings, but the parent is no longer living.
Are they blood siblings?
No.
Well, then they need to get adopted.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that something that they could do? So, because again, like Siobhan said, it was kind of unclear. So
I thought that we had written the
amendment
language
says
where
adopted children.
Yep, that's the
that
part that
makes
just
it.
made it confusing.
Yeah,
where, like,
I thought it was
before-
all family.
Same, because that's what I thought that the language was very clear for that, like adopter versus adoptee, to make
Yeah.
that like whatever.
Right.
But then that part, just the amendment made it confusing, and yeah, it was clarity. That's all.
And then because of a non-living parent, it would make would somebody be able to adopt as a grandchild?
I personally would say why not? If they want to if they want to adopt someone, call them family, and they're nice with family, it should apply
Yeah.
to this, and they can pay for it. Fuck it.
Okay. Because those were the two instances brought to me, whereas the actual parent was no longer living, so it kind of
Yeah.
made it a little complicated.
Or
Tell you
maybe
what.
it just gives more money, so just let them
Mm-hmm.
adopt anyone.
Tell you what, draft up a revision to this, and just so I can see how the wording would be. And then I will compare it to what we have written already, and then I will tell you how I feel about it, but I'm probably down.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Oh, Alan, I was told to remind you or to let you know that civilians are unable to see the DOJ advisory reports in the MDT.
Thank you, Etta. I was
You're
forgetting
welcome.
that. Thank you.
Yes.
And they can't see state announcements.
I
In the MDT, you mean?
Yeah, there's a report category.
Yeah,
called
to my
state
knowledge,
announcements.
no, they
Yeah,
are
as
not
far
able
as
to
I
see
know
it.
that they
Like
can't
can
see it at
see the
all, yeah.
titles, but when they click on it, there's nothing there.
Okay, I'll refer that.
Oh, and amended legislation. Can you start putting the dates back on when the amendments are made? So that way, you know, in the case of like retroactive charges or whatnot.
Which one did I not do it?
A lot of them, apparently.
Yeah,
Getting
so
a lot of
somebody
complaints
said
about
that like a lot of them haven't been dated.
Okay, well, which ones?
Mhm.
I mean, adoption for one. So many.
Yeah, I think that's the one that's been like amended the most.
I'd have to go back and see when you started amending these.
Because I think they said like the first few, the dates were put there, but then like everything amended since wasn't. Okay, so the hunting the registration, that one's done. I don't know. I would have to go through or talk to the people who made the complaint and find specifically, but I think the adoption one is basically the main one.
Yeah, but why would
I've
the
seen.
date matter there?
Charges and
The charges weren't changed, right? The only thing that was changed was the actual adoption policy.
Wasn't the fine changed?
Oh no, the
Fi-
fine
fi-
wasn't
fine's always
changed. The
been 60K.
bounty was okay. It was
Charges
the
above the
Oh, the
amendments.
bounty
Yep,
changed.
yep,
That
yep,
was
yep, yep.
we upped that, didn't we? Or
Did
I'm
Siobhan
losing
or
track.
Alex, did anybody mention specific ones?
As far as I know, just the adoption one where they were just complaining about not being able to see that. It was Murphy and Roman.
Speak up,
Yeah.
Alex.
Sorry.
Hey, I heard you though. It was just fake.
Yeah, Murphy and Roman were the ones that were complaining to me about it too. So
important note, I did grab 10K from the state account to pay First Temple for recording Ember Quinn doing adoption fraud at one of my town halls. I also gave it to
Hilarious.
Moosecycles for his statement. This is like a week and a half ago.
perfect. Yeah.
But yeah, I label the ones that I think matter.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because like if we're changing something where there could be an ex post facto, I have the time in there, but I didn't think
Okay.
that mattered because none of that relates to charging.
No, I understand what you're saying. If they bring it up again, I will have them give me exact legislation
Yeah, let me know which ones they're
and
worried
why,
Cool
and
K
then yeah, I'll let you know.
Productions, thank you for the 11 months.
Because you know how everybody
having
likes
a
to
good
say, "Oh, there's
stream."
so many," and using the
Yeah,
the
that's why I
vague-
asked for
yeah,
specifics. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. And I think that's all I have on mine.
Man, I'm gonna be a stick in the mud today. God damn.
Why?
Hey,
I read through all the proposed stuff and I got questions.
Well, Samoa's not here to present his stuff, so it's probably getting tabled on some of them.
Nope.
Oh no.
Well,
Okay.
is it Siobhan
My
Yeah.
wife worked with him on all that
Oh,
stuff. So
Fuck
okay.
yeah, I think he said too that I could speak for him on these.
Oh, perfect.
The DNA on file one was literally this was so in the Constitution we have the DNA section, right? We include that all law enforcement officers must submit samples, but there is nothing codifying when those samples can be removed, like at the end of their employment. So this was just to establish how that could how that could happen and what that would look like.
But
That's
it
all
also
the DNA on
expands
file
The
is
reason-
on
for.
where you take DNA from.
The reason for me that law enforcement have DNA on file is so when there's a giant shootout scene, PD know which blood to exclude from suspect pools,
Mhm.
but I don't really understand why doctors, judges, and EMS
Yeah,
need to
this does
understand
more
that.
than just say that you could remove
the
Yeah,
DNA.
he did expand it to add it to other people. I think that was not necessarily a sticking point for him. You know, like obviously it could be adopted, but the initial intention was to specifically just codify how it would be removed when their employment
I
ends.
don't mind. We can amend. I don't mind amending the Constitution. Just add a clause that states that upon the conclusion of their employment, that their DNA can be removed if the employment, if
request
the
it.
conclusion is not related to obtaining, a violent felony.
So like Captain Turner, who resigned, right?
Yeah, I have no problem with that, but I'm not comfortable expanding it to people who I don't see a reason for it.
I think that's fine. I totally. I not everyone needs to be included in it, but at least making sure that there is a way for the people who have it required as part of their employment. Yeah, you get it.
All right, let me see where the. All right, so anybody opposed to me adding a number 8 under Article 7 of the Constitution, DNA? Or I guess it'd be a number 6 under DNA storage and removal, which states that a person retires or voluntarily leaves law enforcement without an offending violent felony, that it can be removed. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yup.
I would say upon request, but yeah, like the
Yeah,
onus
sure.
is
We're
on
not
them.
doing automatically
Yeah,
if they
can
ask.
be.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
point, Malton. Okay.
Upon request, I'd agree.
All right, I'll put the language in right now. Give me a sec. All right, so just simply put under DNA storage and removal, number 6, law enforcement officers leaving the department without a violent felony may request to have their DNA sample removed from the database. So,
Perfect. Yep, good.
all right, I will note the amendment and time and date because this will matter.
Oh, are we able to make the master adoption document available to the judges as well, so that way they can add in?
We just did that before the meeting.
Yeah, I bumped it
Oh,
down
did
to
you? Okay.
DOJ, yeah, and
Perfect,
added it
thank
to
you.
our linked roster, basically.
Thank
or
you,
link
thank you.
sheet.
That's why I was editing as Norman and I kind of came across them, but yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
That means we can't see it anymore, right?
If that's the, I mean, there's no reason why the city council shouldn't be able to see DOJ docs. There's nothing like or classified in there or specific.
Is that how you want to do it?
I don't care as long as they're tracking it. I don't give a shit. I made the
Okay,
document.
well, there we go then.
Okay, works for me. All right, amendment is updated in the Constitution.
Hooray.
Okay.
All
They
right,
they have been tracking it, right? Can you guys see the?
There's some names in there, yes. So
Can you read them off?
what about
The two that are in the master document, I put in there because the judges had been putting them on the people's profiles before that. So just kind of as we were coming across them, I was putting it into the document.
I mean,
Can
if
you-
the
Go on, sorry.
Sorry, I was gonna say Crane could just put out an announcement to the judges saying like, hey, if you've done any adoptions, make sure they're added to report 3.
As far as I know,
Yes,
the judges are aware, and any adoptions that have been done are in there. The noting on profiles was supposed to be an additional step, so that, for example, if officers were to suspect somebody of adoption fraud, you could easily verify by looking at their profile.
Right.
There's 3 on here currently. It's Anita May, Zoe May, Grace Daniels, Ember Quinn, Dawn Hart, Alex, Mushkin, Domino. Those are the 3
I will
pairs.
double check with the judges.
Yep.
Ooh,
Right on.
there is one missing.
Who's that?
Michael Simone adopted Rod Long.
You know who the judge
Oh,
was who did
God.
that?
Norman.
Ah.
Oh.
God damn it, Norman.
Yeah, he didn't have access. So
Yeah, I mean,
That's probably what it was.
oh yeah, but the judge just backdate their paperwork basically.
I have noted to the judges at whole, and I've also noted to Mr. Adams about that one.
Awesome. Oh, what about the marriage licenses too? Was that been done the same?
I don't know if we had 2 or if I bumped it down, but there is one linked in there. I don't know
Adams
where
said
its
he did
source
not
was.
do the Michael Simone Rod Long one.
Wait. Oh no, fuck! It wasn't Adam. Sorry, it was what's his name? Hallow.
Oh, Larry Hallow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
all-
tried to reach out to Norman and he wasn't available. I forgot.
we
All
have a
right, I've
we have
tagged
a marriage
Hallow.
registry
Cool.
in there, so we're good on that one too. And that one's been in there, so they should. Know to
Is
be
it marked
using
on Simone's profile?
it. Oh, I can't tell.
Yeah, I can't see.
Yeah, we need Crane to take a peek. Or Nakota.
Oh wait, what did you need me to look at? I'm sorry, I was looking at the master doc.
Michael Simone's profile, is it on his profile?
That he adopted Rod Long.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Howell.
Yeah. Hallow did it in there, but not the document. I've
Yep.
referred him to do it in the document.
Cool.
I don't need to note this down because it's business I already took care of.
I wanted to present the death penalty legislation, but I did not work on it in a sufficient manner, so it's still not ready. If anybody has any thoughts or wants to work on it with me at any point this week, I'm open to that. I know in the past we used to have firing squad and lethal injection both legislated for the death penalty. Open to suggestions.
Sure, yeah, I'd be I have the previous SOPs for all of it because we helped with we helped with executions in the past, so I can help with that as much as you want.
That'd be awesome.
Fuck yeah, perfect.
As a logistical question, I mean, is there really a difference between life in prison and death as it stands currently, with the prison being a lawless black hole? Like, we're not going to send in a firing squad in there. We've declared it's a black hole of the state.
Huh.
If someone gets life in prison, if someone gets death, it's Carmine and Bobby's problem either way.
Are you saying if they get death, we just send them in there and tell Bobby or Carmine to do
I'm okay
whatever
with
the
that.
fuck?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're like, what
Hey,
are we suddenly
listen,
gonna
why
say?
risk-
Just
Like,
kill 'em
police and cops
somehow.
can go in? Yeah.
Why risk the psychological guilt of the officers? Just let Bobby and Carmine take that burden.
Yeah, and
Holy
unless
fuck.
you're all wanting to stalling it up and build a basement in the PD to execute people in, then yeah, it's just all DOC's problem.
It works for me.
All right. See.
I'm slow and talking about it more if you got thoughts, Siobhan, but
Yeah.
there you go. We got another idea
Yeah,
at
I'm
least
fine with
on the
discussing it
table. We
more.
can
I just think it's a
yeah.
logistical nightmare to be getting the execution squad into PD, or sorry,
Admittedly,
into
we
DOC.
probably couldn't do it in the prison. That is
Yeah.
very true. So we'll keep that in mind.
So, what are your thoughts on a Death Coliseum?
Did the trial by combat stuff ever get clarified? That we talked about like the first or second session?
You mean it's not trial by combat.
Not trial by combat,
Oh,
sorry.
the
fight to the death.
to the death.
Yes,
death matches.
The 100% fatality. One man enters, one man leaves. Death pact.
This seems in a similar vein to this, is why I'm asking.
Not really.
No. This is for people who've already been condemned to like death row, who've already been given the death penalty in a court
So
of
they're
law.
dying no matter what.
Whereas the death duel was more a way for people who aren't necessarily in trouble with the law to settle a dispute with fatalities.
Which I still love. If we can ever do that, fuck it.
Yeah. I'm kind of that's probably gonna be something I present at the last meeting.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. I mean, as far as like prisoners fighting death, once again, like I don't have any opposition to it, but DOC can just make them do this anyway, and sell tickets to have people watch on the hill. Like
that was my idea. Sell pay-per-view tickets. Good state
honestly,
funds.
get money from it. So reading over this, so your proposal is essentially we just leave someone in for as long as it takes for another person to be sentenced to death, so they can fight.
No, I initially was looking at Fire Squad, but maybe like other options like lethal injection or whatever. Like if let's say that the death row inmate found that waiting was too much suffering and they just wanted their execution date moved up.
Okay, so it's like an optional thing.
Optional, yeah.
They can opt in to wait as long as it takes to fight in the Death Coliseum for a chance. That
yeah.
Fuck it. I mean, that's
leave it to individual choice.
Definitely have to figure out with the fact that the prison is so lawless. We can't exactly go in and get people out easily.
Totally.
I'm against having this in the prison, let's say, but as like a general concept, I'm okay with it.
Yes, I think it's a logistics thing we got to figure out, but.
Kendra, let's set some time aside to work on this later then, or anyone else who'd like to. I would love that. Okay, all right. So we'll look at that later. It's nice to hear everyone's thoughts on that. Michael had written the next one. He had specifically asked me about restraining orders, and like we don't do that because of proximity, just feasibly impossible to enforce, right? And then he brought up, what about no contact orders? And then wrote this.
I think it's an interesting thought. I mean, I would honestly defer to what the judges think about. So, like, is this something like Crane? Do you know if this is something the judges would
Well,
ever order?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how.
Mostly because I forgot to change it, but it was because
I'm trying to approach this fairly and not just be a stick in the mud. In fairness to some Max's previous points about just doing shit and not thinking about the past or why we don't do things. I'm struggling to understand how I would fairly adjudicate this. I would expect that 99% of any of these situations, outside of the rare ones where PD happens to be there on scene when the contact happens, I would assume most of these are going to be one person calling the cops on another person claiming they broke the order. And then I guess you'd interview a bunch of witnesses and see who claims what. It seems very difficult to enforce.
I mean, couldn't you subpoena phone records and see like repeated texts?
I'm not even talking about texting. I'm just talking about like
because
this says if you're in the same public place, you're not allowed to like talk to each other. And it's like, okay, who talked first? Did one person like flip the other person off and somebody didn't see? And if they claim that, how do I, it's all very.
Yeah, no, I see
Mhm.
what you're saying there. Like, how do you determine what the truth of the matter is?
See,
In a
honestly,
he
my
said,
job
she
is a
said
lot of
situation?
babysitting. This feels like actual babysitting. I don't know how I feel about it.
I feel like a lot of these would end up in the courtroom too.
Is that a bad thing?
I'll put it this way: if
you would
you
have to have it
guys,
granted by a
if you
judge.
guys think this is like necessary
I
and
meant the
you
violation,
want it,
sorry.
I will try. I and the judges will try to enforce what you guys want. My personal opinion is that I don't think this is easily enforceable or easily adjudicated, but easy, is how it's going to be.
We have passed other things that are also not easy to
I agree.
enforce.
That's why I'm
yeah.
saying what I'm saying.
Yeah.
like the adoption,
Well, the
fraud
adoption
stuff.
fraud. And hey, it happens sometimes. So
My,
yeah.
my general opinion is that if the
Okay.
judges are willing to entertain it, I think it should be passed. I think getting more people into court is not necessarily a bad thing. I think if a cop wants to investigate this, I mean, I guess that's something for the police to handle. I have faith that the judges aren't going to take a simple he said, she said, and find someone guilty just because of that.
Well, there's no charge here, right? So who
I guess harassment.
who
stalking or
issues? Well, no,
something.
who issues the criteria? Who issues
Yeah.
the order?
It's issued by a judge and it's a court order. There already is a charge. It's violating a court order.
Oh, okay.
All right. So then, why do we need this?
Well, okay.
Because you guys don't issue restraining orders, do you?
Right, but I'm saying if the judges decide, if they're the ones who decide to issue things, then isn't it just their discretion either way?
So maybe just put out a guidance that, like, hey, this is okay. This kind of stuff is okay now, or we're trying it out. Crane, what are you?
I mean, I could just talk to the judges and say, "Hey, guys, the council wants us to give this a shot. Give it a shot."
This being the act that we're talking about.
We'll just
no contact orders.
No contact orders in general. Because what I'm saying is that the judge is going to issue the order, and if the enforcement mechanism is violation of a court order, then it's whatever the judge says in court, right? So it's whatever contextually the judge comes up with in the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm saying I think
fine with
the legislation doesn't really do anything because the judge is going to issue it and the judge is going to contextualize it, and the punishment is the court order. So it's all contained within the judge's discretion. So I could just take this, send it to them, and just say, hey, this is what the council came up with. I told them that if we're the ones that are going to enforce it, it's going to be enforced through court order, that you guys just use your discretion. So I know in the past we haven't really done no contact, but if you feel this is a good solution for a case, feel free to use it.
How would somebody request a no contact order, though?
I mean, the only time we really do them is currently we do them so say you're on bail and you're accused of trying to murder somebody. We already do no contact orders for hey, you tried to kill, Siobhan Thoroughbred. You're not allowed to, come within whatever number of feet or talk to her or whatever. Don't call her, don't text her, whatever, right? So it'd be the same concept. It'd just be,
I would say 90% of the time it's probably going to be either ego act cases. Maybe you might.
But to be fair, we already do that. Yeah. What we don't do for restraining orders is we don't do orders where people come into the courthouse absent of another case, absent of a criminal case or whatever, and go, this person's harassing me, make them leave me alone.
Okay,
so if that's what you want the judges to start entertaining, I can give it guidance on that. But if it's the idea of no contact orders for existing criminal cases or existing disputes that are on record that are being adjudicated, we already do that.
I think people should be able to come in and request no contact orders and let a judge decide if it's valid or not.
Okay, I'll give that guidance to the judges. I'll tell them to start being open to that.
I mean, is there anyone here who thinks that the people shouldn't be able to request those just ad hoc?
My concern would be just whining from judges about having to do something like that, I guess, but I don't really know a lot of them personally. I don't know what their work ethic is like.
No, I don't think anyone's going to complain about that.
Okay.
I think if
The,
people
the
complain
reason
about their
we
job
haven't done
and
it
tough
is
shit-
because it just wasn't something we did, and I can leave it at that. I mean, the reasons weren't related to work ethic or anything. It just wasn't something we entertained. But if that's something we want to start entertaining, then I'm open to suggesting it.
I think we should table this until Michael's back. But I still like your guidance to the judges in the interim.
Mhm.
Since we already have charges and whatnot to accommodate that for the enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, I'm open to whatever.
Okay, so as to what you said about, you attempted to murder me. That's what the next one is. The Dan protocol. I will admit that I am incredibly biased when I wrote this and was probably not in the best mindset. Crane, I talked to you a little bit about this before, and you said when they, your response when I said that they were harassing, stalking, and attacking me was to just shoot them. So that's how this was born.
Yeah,
my God.
if they're aggressing on you, then yeah, defend yourself, but not a KOS. Specifically, also because not all Dans are bad. In fact, we have a judge that is a Dan.
He's a fan.
Well,
She's right.
Still an offshoot.
In general, I'm against anything that encourages
Yeah.
vigilanteism.
Yeah, the only time we've
tend to
sanctioned the
agree.
vigilante shit is when there were actual vampires running around.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was great.
Or
That
aliens
happened.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
That happened.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a whole fit.
Yeah.
His fit was so. It was sick.
When
course
was
you-
that?
Yeah,
Crane
things like
Vampire
this.
Hunter.
It could also even miss.
That was when
what
I
it's
used to carry a
intended for
Spaz
to
12,
be.
Dakota.
What was that, like 6 years ago?
I seized a lot of
7
those.
almost?
Yeah,
6-7 years
yeah.
ago, yeah.
I had the combo. I had the Spaz 12 and the.
Rubber slug.
Actually, let me rephrase. I definitely didn't have a Dragonov to go with my Spaz 12.
Okay,
No, of
you're
course.
just-
That would have been
Of
illegal
course.
and not permitted.
I don't think this.
But it allegedly looks really cool.
Permitted
Unless
either.
you're fighting in a war, then it was definitely legal to have a Dragonov.
That's my rubber slug.
Yeah, I don't think we can justify this
All
one.
right.
What if we did though? I personally identify as a dancist.
I think if they are aggressors, then that's the whole,
Well, the
standing
law applies
your
like anything
ground.
Yeah,
else.
that's just
Yeah,
standard
fuck it.
ground.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the
I
issue is
mean,
with this,
just
it's
making
like,
them kill on sight,
yeah,
that's probably
there
not
could be like
ideal.
misidentification for starters. People that
Mhm.
haven't done anything could start being killed. Like it
I
just.
did put in the thing that they have to be like possibly identified as a Dan, and then like put the ways that they're identified as one, but that probably needs to be further defined. It wasn't necessarily.
Yeah.
Frequently
But
saying,
the-
hey man, nasally speech patterns, polo shirts, fedora, last name of Dan.
May have blue blood that is thick like syrup. That is also true.
I feel like how do you get that one without shooting them first? Isn't that
Right?
catch-22?
You get
That's the
stalked for
confirm
2.5
after.
weeks at your fucking home and they're bleeding all over your fucking doorstep.
Yeah, that.
Ew.
Ew.
Have you tried giving them things? They like gifts.
I have tried giving them things. I have tried speaking with
Did you give
them.
them
I've
cocaine? They
tried
like
offering
cocaine.
them stuff. I can't find any cocaine. Do
We
you
did
have
try looking
cocaine?
for coke. Yeah, you got coke.
No. Also, if I did, do you think I'd say yes? I'd be.
It's just a misdemeanor, Crane.
Be like my cocaine,
Crane, look at my
I
record.
can't
greedy
believe
with
the
your
council
cocaine,
is
Crane. I
focused
could
on
die.
dumb
What?
things like adoption law. Can they focus on the real issues, like the dumbass cringe cops
tried
reading
offering them
RP
booze and
Public
stuff,
constantly?
like-
intoxication, evading criminal threats, 2 times assault and battery, public and what'd you do that's public indecency? Who'd you
Oh my
fondle?
God.
I told my wife to spit in my mouth and then I swallowed it.
Ew.
That was public indecency?
I don't think
Yeah.
that actually qualifies.
I
Yeah,
don't think.
I think that's the tamest thing we've done in public, honestly.
I could say spitting in someone's mouth could be defined as a lewd caress.
Yep.
Caressing the inside of his mouth with her spit.
But
Yeah, see, he made the
gonna be
noise.
good.
That it's what's that thing? where the
See?
judge says, "I'll know it when I see it." The pornography case.
Yeah.
Yep. He made the noise, so that's lewd.
Yeah. We went to collect some misdemeanors the other day.
Nice.
Mission accomplished. It sounds like.
It took a while, and I had to call Barrick
God,
to
why is it every goddamn
click the
fucking hat
process
emote?
button on
Every
my
time
fucking
can I just
incident.
do my bit in chat?
Oh.
Because the
Misdemeanors
people
are great.
who processed us didn't fucking do it, but I did get billed.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only motherfucker in the history of getting charged with crimes that was upset that I didn't get them on my record, but I ate the
No.
bill.
The process. man.
Let me introduce you to one Jamal Abdul, whatever
Oh
the third.
God. Yeah.
Also Aubrey Webster.
I
Yeah,
believe
there have
6
been
years
quite a
ago,
few
someone
people.
actually had terrorism, and someone forgot to hit process, so it wasn't on their record.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Damn, there's
was
a lot
that-
of cool misdemeanors.
Was that whatchamacallit?
Yep.
The one from the cop prom?
Ooh.
I don't think it was that one. I think it was a different one.
Oh, okay.
But it definitely happened because the person was like, "I have terrorism," and I was like, "No, you don't." And they said, "Yes, I do." And then I checked it, and they were definitely found guilty, but
It was never
wasn't
processed.
correct.
That's funny.
Oh my God.
Criminal use of firearm is a misdemeanor. Nice. Although you have your weapons license removed for that, so that'd be a problem.
I wish I could find some drugs for the misdemeanor drugs, but it is what it is.
There's weed everywhere. I find weed all the time.
I haven't found weed in a while.
Oh,
Let's go look in dumpsters for an hour.
Ew.
I don't want to
Dumpster
smell
diving?
dumpster weed.
Yeah, I don't want to. That sounds like nasty brickweed or some shit.
Cowards.
I only smoke dro.
Is that something that's ever going to be reintroduced?
What?
Oh, yeah.
Marijuana again?
Yeah.
No.
Oh?
Devil's lettuce.
Wait, what?
But
Drugs
wait,
are
no,
bad.
wait, no, wait, no
Drugs are bad.
dispensaries ever?
Dispensaries are the worst thing ever.
I fucking hate them too, dog. I'm gonna be real.
Listen to me. I worked with these dispensaries. Do you know what every single request we ever got from the dispensaries was? Hey, let us grow more with oversight. Hey, let us grow
True.
at like 6 different locations. Hey, let us
Yeah.
grow any strain we want. It literally could have just been a fucking formal interoffice memo that just said at the top, drug trafficking enabling request. Like,
Mhm. Well, then you just put somebody in charge with strict guidelines and say, if you ask for anything beyond this, then we will shut you down immediately.
Well, unfortunately, we have an actual current example of that not working. A la Bobby Charles.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Yeah, I honestly, dispensaries are just awful.
Man.
Bunch of hippie
Sad.
stoners who can't run a business to save their life. Oh, thank you.
Kind of a catch-22 of like the people who want to do it probably are not the right people for the position who would be able
Yep.
to meet the guidelines, right?
Mhm.
Crane, didn't one of the owners in the Old Republic in the of Smoke on the Water ended up getting like a drug trafficking felony and had to be
Yeah,
it was like a whole
Winsong
thing,
got
right?
drug trafficking.
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
it was.
She
More
should
than
have had
once, I
more than that.
believe.
She should have had more than that, but
And then there
in my
was the
recollection,
whole...
she kept being used as a CI.
What was the Green Beans? Was that the other one that got shut down because of their...
Yeah, Green Beans
Yeah.
was a drug front. They got shut down and then persisted in using their location well after we shut them down.
Oh.
There were
Fructose was the first.
literal cartel wars over dispensary grow operations.
Mm.
Yep, green beans, white
Like
widow.
Yeah, I
actual
remember that.
fucking like tactical like,
Yeah.
like
That's right.
Hills of Afghanistan, Toyota Tacoma,
What was it?
AK
Roosters?
wielding.
Yeah.
Just Reef.
There was
Roosters
like a
Reef
three-way
versus-
war over dispensary grow plots where with actual
Mhm.
AKs and like banditos and everything.
Yeah, I remember.
No, thank you. You were saying, Max?
What's up with fucking people who grow weed and shit, calling it like goofy ass, like alliteration, stupid fucking cringe names?
They're
What's up with that?
basically the Disney adults of the drug world, Max.
That's a good fucking
Oh my
comparison,
god,
dog.
that is so good. It's a perfect pair.
They never grew up from smoking weed in their parents' basement.
You know who I talked to yesterday who spent 9 minutes telling me he was a Disney adult? Osvaldo Pingafria.
Very
Oh God.
Very true, actually.
I don't blame him though, because look, if I grew up in like, Eastern European communist state or like Cuba or some shit, I'd probably be a Disney adult. Hell, I mean, what else you got to escape to, right? That was probably the only thing he had positive in his life growing up.
Well, counterpoint, he like fucking
Damn.
super romanticizes Cuba every time I talk to him. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
not-
another
it's
problem. I always didn't like that part.
not-
He's always talking about how he's so happy to be here, but then when he asks for anything, it's always he wants a Cuban embassy and a Cuban this and a Cuban that. And I'm like,
He's a spy. He's
didn't you
gotta be.
fucking
If it was so great,
flee an
why'd you
oppressive
leave?
nation? Why are you so happy?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, if you ask him if he's gonna go back, he says hell no. So.
You speak up, Dakota.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say if you ever ask him if he's gonna go back, he says hell no, absolutely not. So that pretty much tells you everything.
Damn. I always thought that was weird.
Also, when it comes to Disney adults, someone once told me that what was the phrase? They said, "You're not really that into Disney. You just haven't been happy since you were 9."
Oh my
That's fucked up.
God.
Wow.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
If he went down
Oh,
Yeah,
that
it
road.
was
that's
dark. but
horrifying.
Babe, you've been happy
also-
since then. You've been happy since then.
Also
I'm
I'm not a Disney
resonated.
person.
Okay.
I think if everyone in this room had some introspection on that statement, you might see a little kernel
Hello,
of truth
welcome
in
back.
it.
Welcome back.
Okay, we'll take that. All right, hiya.
You got a mask?
No.
Here, I
I
got
got
you.
one.
Shit.
I have started to review the penal code. We're not doing any major topics, and wow, it's going to be a lot of work. I thought I had purged everything that wasn't relevant anymore, but there's still stuff in there that I don't know why it's there. There's also a pretty big gap between the old charges and the new charges in terms of fines. So I'm probably going to have to go through and rebalance everything. I think what I'm going to do is kind of like a mix of qualitative and quantitative, where I'm going to try to get an average of all felonies and then get an average of all misdemeanors, and then plug in some data in a spreadsheet where a formula tells me the proportionality of each charge compared to the average. And then that'll probably give me an idea of, where the distinctions lie within each subcategory. So all that said, I'm working on it.
Nakota, do you have anything to present?
Nope.
Malton, do you have anything to present?
Nope.
Philippa, do you have anything to present?
I don't. Oh, hold on. I don't have anything to present. But I wanted to feel something out a little bit. Something was proposed to me that seemed like a cool idea at first, but I think the potential steps that would need to be taken might not be worth it all. Was scheduling drugs to kind of future-proof things.
Ooh. Oh,
Um,
I love
which
that idea.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help.
What do you mean,
plot
like
all that
assigning
out.
them dates or what?
Essentially, like instead of
Classifying their
having
power
Classifying,
level.
classifying
Yes.
their schedule, and then having the charges just be for like Schedule 1, Schedule 2, or Schedule 3 drugs, misdemeanor,
Pretty
or like
much,
felony
yes.
possessions, rather than individual charges for each drug. It would just be based on the
Exactly.
drug schedule.
Because I looked into it, and
Yes.
a lot of
I'm
the
a big fan of
times
that.
and fines are very similar for possession charges, depending like what kind of drug it is. The only thing that I realized might make this kind of complicated is that it does need to be written out exactly what a felony or misdemeanor amount is for each thing. We could put that in the legislation, so it can be referred to instead of needing to have an individual charge for each. If you'd be open to that.
I feel like
Nakota,
it's easier.
I'm
Yeah, what do you
here.
think, Dakota?
Do you think your Neanderthal comrades are capable of doing something more complicated than punching in the name of the drug and checking how much of it they have, and then punching in the name of the drug again and seeing which one they pick?
I mean, can they differentiate class of drug?
Yeah, do you think that it's feasible for during processing them to differentiate the class, then refer to the legislation, which ostensibly would do in a different place regarding the amounts for felony or misdemeanor within that class, and then use those charges appropriately?
I would hope so.
That's not very confident.
Oh boy. That was my worry. Like, we still have it all written down somewhere. It's not like they'd have to, make it up, but it would just be in a slightly different place. But the idea behind it is this would future-proof things, so it should make things easier, ideally.
Right. Because then if a new drug hits the streets, then, once it's
Yeah, something else
classified, then
pops
you
up.
just throw it onto the list. And
We don't need like
you
100 different charges for the
Different
misdemeanor
drugs,
felony
yeah.
amounts of every single drug. We can just slot them in.
I mean, I agree with general categorization, but this isn't future-proofing anything. There's no difference between adding a new charge and modifying a charge to add something to the list, unless you plan on listing every drug out preemptively.
In the schedule, yeah. In the schedule. I mean, you'd have to add them in
I'm
just the one
against that.
place for the schedule rather than two places for the charges. That's all.
I'm against that part specifically. I don't think we should be preemptively scheduling the narcotic of
not
like cocaine or
preemptively.
meth or
No,
anything
not
like
preemptively.
that.
No.
No, the idea is that they would go through a process involving like scientific testing and stuff through the hospital and all that to figure out what schedule it belongs in when we find out it's a thing.
I just don't think it's you're not future proofing anything. Like if we're just like wanting to say like this is a Schedule 1 narcotic just for again logistics, that I think that's fine. That's something worth discussing. But this isn't future proofing shit. There's no difference between testing a drug and then in court saying, okay, we need a new charge, and then testing a drug and saying, okay, we need it added to this existing charge.
Specific
Yeah,
wording. We're just
You're the
proposing
ones who
that
said
it
future
could.
proofing. I'm focusing on your words. Yes.
Okay, all right, but the idea is that it just gives a platform forward for exactly how those things would be handled when a drug pops up. Instead of wow, it's popped up, we have to sit here and figure out all of the details on where it should be and how it fits into everything. We already have a plan for that. We already have a way that they will be scheduled, and then the schedules will be explained very clearly and what they are, so that people are aware of what they should fit into.
Only other counterpoint to the whole scheduling idea is that typically officers will scour reports for history of people being arrested with certain types of drugs. And if the charges change to felony possession of a Schedule whatever drug, then they would be required to take probably 3 or 4 more steps to actually identify the exact evidence. I'm not sure how big of a concern that is, but I know in the past they often had tags, for example, like marijuana tracking and all that kind of stuff.
I think death by committee is a very real problem in the past PD in terms of deciding charges. I think Nakota could probably speak more of it if it's still a current problem, but I think anything that delays the investigative or the charging process is not something we should be encouraging unless there is a very compelling reason behind it.
I think if it was... Go ahead, sorry.
Shouldn't they be evaluating, looking at the reports for the past charges to like look at the statute of limitations and see when they occurred anyway? Isn't that not really adding an extra step? Isn't that just enforcing the extra step that they should be taking?
To do what you're doing, you would literally open up the MDT, go advanced search, and there's a drop down for charge. So you would select like marijuana, and then you hit search, and then you just look at the dates for all the marijuana cases. Again, I'm not saying either way. I'm not drawing a conclusion. I'm just asking questions for Nakota's sake to understand what the impact would be on PD.
Well, so if it was,
I don't care either way.
If it was as simple as like the firearms charge, where there's class 2 or class 1, class 2, class 3, that would be one thing, right? Because it clearly describes what each one of those things is. I think the issue is that while the drugs may be similar class, the denomination that there would make it a misdemeanor or a felony then creates a subset, unless each thing in the MDT was going to say class whatever drug qualifies as these four, and then it literally has what falls in the misdemeanor amount of each of those.
So
And
two
so on
places
for
to reference
felony.
instead of one.
Correct. And I mean, personally, I have no issue with that. I'm curious what the is
Yeah,
that
we don't create charges for you. We create charges for Cornwood or whoever.
Yeah, it's just is there like an issue right now that this is tackling?
Not necessarily. That's kind of why I wanted to bring it up and get thoughts on it before I even wrote it all
Right.
out. It's kind of a, it outlines a plan so that we can, schedule things down the line,
Yeah.
and kind of get everyone on the same page for things. But I mean, the thing is, things work as they are now. It's just kind of a, do we need 100 different charges for as many drugs as we've got around here?
I don't necessarily disagree with your sentiment on that. I think if I could see something like more concrete and what it would look
Mhm.
like, I'd be able to give a more like informed opinion on whether or not I think that would create
Basically, here's
more
what they're
headaches.
suggesting.
Yeah, sure.
Their suggestion is that I would create a charge. There'd be 6 charges effectively.
Mhm.
There'd be felony possession and misdemeanor possession of each class 1, 2,
Yep.
and 3 narcotics. Then there would be a piece of legislation that establishes what narcotics fall into which class. And then within that legislation, there would also be what amounts fall under felony for each type of drug or
Yep,
misdemeanor.
perfect.
So the extra step that would be created that you referred to would be that if a cop caught someone with, let's say, a pound of marijuana and 2 ounces of coke, they would need to open up the legislation, figure out what drugs are in what class and what
Yes.
amounts are felony or misdemeanor, and then apply the appropriate charges for each drug.
Yeah, pretty much. I think yeah, that's perfect because like I did all the testing to get not lean illegal. That was the juice. It was I got legal way back in the day. The cops brought it
The
to us. We went through a
juice?
testing process.
Yeah,
it was
there's a
literally
drug called
called
the
the juice.
Yeah, it was.
It
Yeah.
would restart someone's heart. It was a shot of adrenaline, but the problem is it wasn't very well made, and under lack of medical control, it would cause heart attacks down the line, oftentimes, and long-term health issues. So we did make that one illegal.
Going back to the Neanderthal officer's comment, with all due respect to Nakota's colleagues, another reason why I'm against it is when searching for a charge, it only brings up the title of the charge, not the description. Not so, if we got
the description wouldn't matter anyway because they're saying all the definitions for felony and misdemeanor of each drug would be in the legislation. Because otherwise, if it was in the charge,
you
said felony-
you said there's class 1, 2, and 3 narcotics, right?
Right. So what I'm saying is that there's a felony charge and a misdemeanor charge for each class. There's 6 charges, and then within each within the legislation, each drug that falls into each class would be defined as the amounts. Because obviously, weed is different amounts than heroin. You know.
I see. I think any extra steps you put on the lowest common denominator is going to cause, let's just call it
no
undue
faith
hardship.
in the PD. This is crazy.
I have no faith in base ranking officers. You
As
are absolutely
someone
correct.
who
You
has
are
been a
absolutely
lawyer-
correct in
Yeah,
that.
I mean, hey,
As someone
I'm
who has
not
been a lawyer in
disagreeing,
the
it's great.
cells, I sadly will say that I concur with Malton in that
Yeah.
you are
Hey,
compounding an already existing problem.
I got processed by 2 seniors. They forgot to click processed. I think just
Oh,
in
no.
general,
Yeah.
look, we can't really blame it on police officers. It's more a matter of like,
It's just people.
yeah, it's like the education system's pretty bad. You know, the average person who wants to become a cop is typically like a bully in high school, and they're just kind of like trying to get off on their power fantasy, so they'll go in and become a cop so that they can kind of swing their dick around a little bit. Just kind of like
or a dumb,
abuse
useless,
people.
fucking Japan obsessed weeb.
Yeah, like, you know, there are
I
people
definitely
that
know a couple of those.
like most cops are just pieces of shit, but it's not the system's fault. It's their parents' fault. It's the education system's fault. And really,
Right.
we're just working with what we got right now, which is pretty bad. No, honestly, no. I feel like cops in the current LSPD have been pretty fucking good, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So it seems kind of a mixed response. I might write something up for it and look further into it. I can't promise I'll have it ready for next week. This is something I'll probably cook on, but this was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think the idea of scheduling drugs is a good one.
Yeah.
If or when those drugs have legal applications, but as long as they're just going to be
that's the
straight
thing.
criminal, then I kind of feel like it's just easier to
Mhm.
just have laws for each drug.
Yeah, because I know 5 years ago we hit the point where there was legal drugs around, and suddenly cops were like trying to charge these
Yeah.
companies for having them and things. So I also wanted to write into this some process for legal drugs.
So prescription drugs that are like legally
Yeah,
obtained.
pretty much. Yeah, like so that if that were to ever happen, that is protected.
Wait, who's
Did you
charging
approve a
legal
loan
drugs?
company, Max?
What'd you say?
Did you approve a loan company?
Absolutely not.
No.
Sonia Summers, a few seconds ago.
Oh, boy.
C4 Loans looking for investors for a loaning syndicate. Loans
Oh,
available for
no.
low risk clientele.
One
Also in
thing,
the code, I'm not sure
one,
who, but
Nice.
they tried to do it for like transporting the drugs. I think it was. They tried to charge them for that. I don't know.
What, for the prescription?
Yeah, for the prescription drugs. Yes, they tried to charge
Jesus
them for
Christ.
Oh,
transporting
I
them to the
remember
hospital.
that
Yeah.
for transporting prescription drugs. I do
Yeah.
recall that. That was that was nuts.
I think that might have
Yeah,
been
that was
before my
crazy.
time.
It wasn't. I don't know who the fuck was doing it, but it was.
What about
some-
Milton's
someone
Mods?
dumb.
Is that approved?
No.
okay, listen. All right. We need some sort of legislation / punishment for people operating illegally as a business. And we only need that now because against all odds, slowly are we crawling toward the possibility of being able to have base functionality for approving and managing businesses in Los Santos. Can I get a round of applause, please? Clap, 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 clap. 4 months later,
Wow.
we are nearly upon the horizon,
Hey,
which
that's
means
progress. Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
which means we need to. I will draft up a law before the next meeting, and we will essentially say, hey, if you're not a business, guess what? If you're advertising yourself as a business, you're going to get in trouble. The end. We had like a state announcement about that kind of like early on because everyone was kind of trying to rush.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But that was more like just to scare people to stop them from doing it for a little bit. But yeah, we need something official, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems like it. I mean, it's kind of hard, right? Because it's like on one hand, we want to make them follow the legislation, but on the other hand, even the people who are following the legislation don't have anywhere to call business. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Sure don't.
I mean, the easy fix is there is an unauthorized sales charge that kind of fits that definition. Right now, it's just like a pissant misdemeanor, but
right now it's not illegal for them to do that. That's my point.
Right.
Well,
unauthorized sales.
It's a citation. It technically is, but it means
It's just the
what
cost
I'm saying,
of doing business, though. Right now.
Well, that's okay, right? So as I continue. So what I'm saying is you could simply retool that charge to either be like a 0-0 discretion of the courts, make it a felony with 10 grand. Like I don't know. There's a lot of things you could cook up, but there is technically a charge in our penal code that does apply that could be enforced right now.
I think that's something we can also like maybe address in the town halls to kind of get the word spread, because I think a lot of people are going off of the old mindset from back in the day where they are trying to manifest
Right.
what they want, because that was generally kind of the suggestion back then, was to put forth the effort, show that you're willing to do it, and then maybe it will happen for you. And so I think that's where they're all coming from. So it's not them willfully breaking the law, it's that they think that this is the best way to go about getting the I guess attention towards what they want to achieve.
We're overthinking this. Okay.
They just don't want to pay the money. We are overthinking this.
Point blank, right now, it is not illegal for someone to operate a in quotes business on Twitter and whatnot. It's not illegal. Okay, so next meeting, I'm gonna have something that makes it illegal for them to do it without a business license, and that's and then we're gonna have a new charge associated with that as well. Operating a business illegally or whatever. That's it. Boom, done.
Cool.
No more. Like that's what has to happen, and it's gonna boom.
Sounds like that's gonna be free charges on Twitter.
Yeah, if you guys want to pursue them.
Hell yeah.
Do we Philippa, this drug scheduling thing, a cool idea.
Oh, yeah.
Crane, do you have anything you want to present?
I think I brought up the stuff I had.
Miss Vaunted Treasurer, do you have anything you wish to present?
I already brought forth everything that I had. Thank you.
My darling wife and the esteemed Chief of Staff, dost thou have anything to present?
Nay, I have already finished.
Oh, I got one thing. Do you guys? Does anybody know how Grime works exactly?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this whole thing about they need to keep their load under a certain, like, either the contract or the maximum weight of the trailer. But apparently there's runs that go to Polito.
Yep.
And the guy said it's like he didn't even have each contract anymore because they were all going to the same spot. It's like a depot drop off. And he had accepted multiple contracts and filled the trailer and then was going to dump everything in Polito.
I didn't know you could accept multiple contracts. I never got promoted.
So I don't know how our law really works if that's the case.
I will say the best and easiest way if we want to police commercial trucks and stuff is to literally just do it weight based, not like this weird contract based shit. Like if they're overweight, that should be what we're aiming for.
But they
like,
physically can't be overweight is the problem.
Yeah, well, we set the weight limit, and if they're over that weight limit, then they're overweight.
Weight by package number. I don't know, like, however you want to
Well,
phrase it.
so right now, I mean, for example, the big trucks can hold 5,000 kilos. So what people are doing is just filling it up to like 4,900.
Right. So we set a more reasonable weight limit.
All right, what would that be?
I would say, because I definitely did a couple of runs where I filled up my tiny little grime truck to almost to 5,000 kilograms, or whatever the weight metric is. I feel like a good either 1.5 or 2,000 is probably like realistic. Because the way that it works is you can choose to not accept another contract after, and this is how it worked months ago. I don't know if it still works this way. You can choose to not accept another contract after doing one, at which point you'll be redirected to a drop-off point where you have to turn in the packages that you had.
The claim made to me was that if they were to be limited to one contract at a time and having to go to the depot every time, they claimed that they would lose money in terms of repairs and gas.
Yeah, they probably would. Especially, what was the weight limit? Like 500 right now?
5,000 kilos.
No, I mean, like, didn't we have like some legislation that said like, hey, if you're over 500, then
no, it just says you can't exceed the contract or the trailer load.
Yeah, but wasn't there some kind of discrepancy on the contracts at the beginning?
Which is why I'm bringing this back.
Yeah, okay.
I've had further feedback that apparently it's still not really clear on how to enforce it.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest. Just fucking get rid of this contract shit, where it's like, hey, do you only have food in your truck? Blah blah. It doesn't fucking matter. It shouldn't matter. The only thing that we should care about is their fucking monstrous truck so weighed down that they're gonna be like a death machine on the highway. That's it.
So, what weight
limit? I would say 2,000. I think we could even.
So I think that's probably a little low, because I think from what I've heard, the contracts for the bigger trucks can be up to 1,200. So maybe
just per contract, so like 2.4K. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys know Marlo Stanfield?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. He's the grime king. I'll call him after this meeting.
All right, get some info from him and let's figure it out.
I actually thought of two more things real quick. This shouldn't take too long, but I was going to bring up if that's all right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Question one. This one's real simple. The Ego Act explicitly implies civilians. Sometimes that means no government employees. Could it potentially be applied to doctors or EMS?
Doesn't it say is it like group
Yeah,
or
groups of people.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, it's like civilian groups and all that shit. So just wanted to get ahead of it because someone has asked.
I do believe that the way it's worded, it encompasses all of us.
Fuck yeah, perfect. Because someone suggested like a charge for targeting the hospital or whatever the fuck, and my response
Oh yeah,
was,
no, that's
just use the
definitely
Ego Act. We don't need that.
100%.
I don't think so. Yeah, perfect.
Didn't you guys have like a medical terrorism charge back in the day?
Did,
yeah.
but that was a
It
very
got
niche
overly
charge
complicated
that,
because every time there was
yeah,
a shooting
yeah.
at the hospital, then someone wanted to be charged with terrorism. Which
And
is
then we
why
had the
they came
kill
up with
barrier era.
medical
there was-
discontinuity
Remember that
instead.
shootout with
Yeah,
weren't the police on the roof of the hospital shooting? I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Well, we overruled
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, we
shit
did
I
on
don't
overrule
like
that
those
one,
kill
but
barriers.
still.
I'm gonna be honest.
I told them they're stupid for trying to charge terrorism.
What's a kill barrier?
It's
So,
basically a big cement
essentially,
barrier that
what
has lights
happened
on
is
Cross it, you die.
here's the history.
Yep.
Originally, there was no medical terrorism. Then one day, Dundee, Jack Cortair, and some other folks broke into a hospital that was actively being used as a triage and treatment point for officers and civilians who were shot in a big shootout. Shot up the hospital trying to rescue their friends. So there was a case where they were charged with terrorism, and the argument was that they destabilized a government entity, aka the treatment center. And so the judge Bailey issued a precedent that basically said that if you go in and
Blah,
shoot up a
blah, blah.
hospital
Back
or a
in the
place where
day,
people are
shit,
actively
don't
being
need to write
treated and you
down
cause
any of
treatment to
this
stop,
stuff.
then you're guilty of terrorism. So people then started getting medical terrorism because, for example, like Kermie Fulker and or no, it wasn't Kermie, it was Julio shot a cop in the hospital because the cop was shit talking Sis while Sis was in the ICU. That was a terrorism, whole bunch. And then we had to get rid of medical terrorism because the cops started getting in gang wars with a Gulag gang who operated out of strawberry gas right next to the hospital. And the cops were mounting the roof of the hospital to use as a tactical shooting point. So then Gulag gang would climb the roof of the hospital and engage in a gun battle with the cops, causing the hospital to be shut down. So then the cops would come to us and be like, they shot in the hospital, they were going to charge them with terrorism. And I said, but you did it first. So we got rid of that and we created medical discontinuity, which basically said whether it's at the hospital or out in the field, if you shoot or do violent acts while treatment is occurring, then you're going to be guilty of this charge. And it's basically a do not pass go, do not, collect $200, go straight to jail for a couple of years.
Mhm.
Judge just authorizes it, no trial. Which then created the kill barriers, which were police would triage scenes, set up giant concrete barriers with like flashing klaxon lights on the sides of them that said police do not cross. And there was a piece of legislation that said that if you cross those barriers, you are like shoot on sight, no questions asked, probable cause, fuck all that. You just get shot in the head.
Cool.
Good times.
It was cool.
Yeah. So
They worked.
But you have to
did
remember,
work.
this was in a
did,
time
yeah.
where essentially people would get in a gunfight with police and one or two people from the offending group would be up on their feet. Their four comrades would be shot down in custody and people would be circling for like 2 hours, stealing
No
a
man
local
left
car,
behind.
changing clothes, circle, circle,
God.
shoot one
Yep,
cop, change
yeah.
clothes, new car, circle, circle. So
RPG you from a bridge.
we
Yes.
had to secure our medical services and law enforcement to be able to patrol the city at some point.
Yeah, but thank God we are
Yeah.
not in that position yet. So I'm perfectly happy with the Ego Act. And hopefully we never have to create something like that again.
Agreed.
Yep. Okay. Second thing was the we already approved paper, but when it comes to medical report requests, this is a Crane question. Would it be possible to put that in the MDT so I don't have to direct people to a form, kind of like y'all have with subpoenas and stuff?
Say again.
The requests for medical records. Would it be possible to have that be something that we could add a functionality for within the MDT so people don't have to be directed to an external form?
Uh,
I'm sure there's a lot of questions about how exactly it would work, so we can talk more about that later.
I'm
if you want us
just
bring it
trying
up
to
while I'm
think
thinking about it.
through
Yeah.
the mechanisms of like access and
Yeah. Mhm.
how how a random person's access would overlap with doctors enough to submit something.
And the doctors not
So-
to share the form with them, like through the
Well,
MD,
that's-
the current.
Well,
MDT
no,
function?
because
No.
the current sharing only works in the
Yes,
courtroom because it's
yeah.
localized to a physical place.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
not
you
the
need to have a
share.
staff profile which gives you access to that category of document.
Mhm.
So, for example, the way that subpoenas and search warrants works is they're police documents, they're reports, then judges have access to report.
Mhm.
Whereas,
Yeah.
you know, if anyone, lawyer or otherwise, can request medical documents, then we'd have to figure out how a public individual without a
Right.
staff profile would have access to a form that then could be shared to a doctor.
So,
So I will talk to the
yeah.
technicians and see if that's feasible.
It would have to be that lawyers and PD could request it, and then doctors probably of a certain level or above. We have hospital command as and high command as options in the MDT could respond to it. That would ideally be it. But if it's not an option, that's okay. I just know
I will
it's
ask,
much nicer to do it here.
and I'm sure I will learn a few new curse words in German.
Yeah, I can already see that coming. I'm so sorry.
What do they have to fill out on the form?
That's what it lays out in the paper legislation. They'd have to
Okay.
get the they'd have to get the confirmation that they can release the medical records with the contracts app. But they have to submit that request to us, right?
Mhm.
I guess, you know, we
Good.
just want it in writing with all the other answers we need.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Hell yeah, thank you. If you have any questions about it, let me know. That's all I had.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay. I don't have anything to present. I'm kind of in a little bit of a writer's block right now.
Well, we also did
Yeah,
pump
fuck
out
it,
a
it
fuck
happens.
ton of pieces of
Yeah.
legislation.
Oh,
True.
absolutely. We've got
There's
a lot
only so
done.
many things that need to be regulated, to be honest.
Holy
Yep, true.
shit. Holy
just
And
gonna-
we're
shit.
at like what 30 something things or some shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some town halls and kind of figure out where everyone's at.
Holy
To
shit.
do me, speak to Marlowe, figure out the intricate inner workings of the crime. Work job.
We also need to schedule the pardon panel for
Greg.
Yeah,
Greg.
Ooh.
Greg Letourneau.
it's got a video and everything. It's great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a little announcement in our email chain for a specific date. Are there any days anyone is not? Actually, you know what? Just say if you're available or not. It doesn't matter. I don't have to go through each person and find out when you're available.
My
I am
schedule's
available.
Fine. Yeah.
I most likely can be. I will let you know if I can't.
I could be like an alternate, basically, just if there's enough advance notice and we don't have enough.
If you actually I'll just move it to the top of my chief of staff notes report. If you want to view the video in advance, I will just move it to the very top so you don't have to scroll for it in my chief of staff notes. Wait, you know you want to hold it?
Yeah, I
Removing, don't look at it yet.
We should have everyone watch that at the same time together.
You're right. You're right. JK, don't look at it.
Okay.
A lot of stuff
I'm
for me to actually
guessing
pay attention to.
The
and
claim
write
is that
about.
Mr. Charles is lying here.
Lying about what?
Greg's incident or whatever, like his felonies, like why he needs it.
Oh.
Yeah, he said that Bobby Charles set him up.
No. You're saying Bobby's lying.
Yeah, I'm saying Bobby apparently got in
Here's
the car
Bobby's
willingly.
statement. I owe Siobhan money because Maximilian paid me $1,500 off. I was at the hospital. I received a call. I think the guy's name was Craig or Greg. Say he wanted to speak to me. Being as nice as I am, I informed Carmine and made a 911 about it. If I don't answer within 10 minutes, I'm being kidnapped. We're in the van. He says I owe Siobhan money. He said he's an associate. I played up acting like why I don't know why I owe her money. We get to the docks. He pulls out a knife and tells me to get out of the car. After we got out, he explained we were going to go to an ATM to get the money back. I said I'm famous, need to call my accountant. That's when an officer arrived and the chase started.
Aw.
I wasn't there. I have no idea what happened. I'm gonna be
Same.
honest with you.
Same.
So, okay.
But what I do know, all right, is that things with actually I'm not even gonna explain. I think you're gonna have to just wait and watch the video. It'll all make sense when you watch it. But I think we all know Bobby Charles in this room and what
Oh,
he
yeah.
can be
Yeah.
like, right? And his willingness to I don't want to say sneak, but yeah, snake is the word that comes to mind.
He's a fucking piece of shit who should be dead by all rights, but somehow has evaded the Reaper for now.
Yeah, it's a good summary. Got that right.
He's a deplorable cockroach.
True.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're good, everybody.
Hell yeah, wow.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah,
Stops
we're getting a lot quicker with
timer,
these.
hovers over timer, waits for one more thing.
All right.
Aaron, can you ask
Waiting
the
for
four
someone to say
winners
one
to
more
make
thing.
their way to the second floor courtroom
Yeah,
if
will
they're
do.
available?